Okay guys, so I watched Love Life and here's what I thought. So Love Life is exactly what the title says. It's about a person's love life. You get to see the main character go through their life and see the different types of relationships and love that they have had. It isn't like your typical rom-com in my opinion. Mainly in a rom-com, there's the main character and there's one main love interest, or sometimes there's a love triangle where there's two, but not too really after that. You really focus on the main character and the potential love interest in their story. But this one really isn't like that. This is about a main character and their love life journey. So they fall in love more than once and they meet different people throughout their lives. They might think that the one person is the one when really they aren't the one for them. I think one thing about this show that I like was how they did that was show the love life journey throughout the show instead of just being one typical love interest. To me, it was more of a realistic story of what people go through in looking for love and that the person they want to spend the rest of their life with. So for this show, there are 2 seasons and the show focused on a new main character for each season. And so I'll be getting more into spoilers now of the show. So if you don't want to know, you can click off, go watch the show. But if you don't really care, then you can continue on. But the general basis of the show was that this follows the love life journey of a different main character every season, and we get to see how they fall in love and out of love with different people until they find the one for them. Okay, now let's get more into details. So this show, like I said, has 2 seasons. The first season we follow the love life of Darby, and we see her life and the men she falls for and the relationship she was in until she finds the right one. Her life doesn't go as expected, but she finally does get that happily ever after, or at least close to it. We don't only see her romantic relationships, but we also see her relationship with her mother, and we also see a relationship with her best friend and how those have their ups and downs, and ultimately how she can fix those and how to keep them in their lives, or maybe not having them in her life at that moment is what she should do. So yeah, that season was definitely emotional at times. I felt more emotion towards her relationship with her mother and her relationship with her best friend, because honestly those relationships were longer than the men she had met throughout the season. So I just feel like there was more connection and you felt more for those. And in her romantic relationships, you do see how she fell for people and how she got into them, and I did feel really bad for her. I think that sometimes in relationships she really tried to make them work, but by doing that she didn't really confront the red flags she was seeing throughout them. When she finally did find the right guy at the end, I wish we saw their relationship more. I just kind of felt like since he was near the end of the first season, it was like she found him and then that was it. I feel like there might have been like a little montage, but it wasn't really too much into the relationship. I have to admit, I was a little upset. I had to see this girl through all of these other relationships and struggle through them, and now when she finally finds the guy she wants to be with, they just end the season. And I wanted more of that great, healthy relationship that she finally had. I wanted to see them together more. But unfortunately, I didn't get as much as I wanted. But yeah, that was Darby's story for the first season. I was happy with her and her final guy that she wanted to be with. So yeah, so the second season follows a different main character. So Darby's story is kind of like done. We do see a little bit of Darby in the second season, but mostly this is focused on Marcus, and we follow his love life. And let me just tell you, this season Marcus really annoyed me. We didn't see Marcus at all in the first season, I don't believe, but in the second season it's his story, his love life, and I just didn't love him as a character. I really didn't like him. I really think he was kind of a toxic person in his relationships. I feel like in the first season Darby was with a lot of people that weren't right for her, and she was trying to make it work, and a lot of people walked all over her, I feel like, or maybe like took advantage of the kindness she was showing. But I feel like Marcus was not like that. And where we first meet him is at a wedding. He's there with his wife, but then like I think he's like outside getting some air or whatever, and he meets a girl at the wedding. And after he meets her, he kind of starts to question his marriage, because he was really vibing with this girl. They kind of hit it off, a little bit of flirting, And I feel like after that encounter, he really was like, maybe he wasn't in his 100% happy in his marriage before that, but I do think after that encounter, he kind of thought about his marriage a little more. It was because kind of the conversations they were talking about was his wife and like what kind of relationship they had a little bit. So I think he really thought about like, is my wife really who I want to be with? You know, all that type of things. But the way his marriage ended, he didn't end it. His wife ended it because she found that he was like really, really talking bad about her, just saying all these things, texting people, telling about his wife. And when she found the text, she was like, "What is this?" And honestly, he did not have a good enough excuse to tell her like why he's doing all this. I do think he should have talked to her more or tried to put what he felt more out there instead of going behind her back and saying all those things. Like, yes, people do vent to people about, you know, about things, but like just to be like spewing, talking all this bad stuff about your significant other like that don't feel right. So I can understand why she wanted to end the marriage, because she was like, well, if this dude don't love me, he's gonna talk about me like this, doesn't trust me, like why am I with him? So yeah, so she ended their marriage. And then the woman that he talked to at the wedding, her name was Mia. I didn't mention that before, apologies. But he kind of like meets up with her a couple more times and they're like friends, but you can tell like they have a connection, like they both are attracted to each other, but they're not really acting on it, but there's something there. And they don't really get together. I think Marcus they don't really get together, even though Marcus does want to, and she ends up having a boyfriend at one time, so they don't go there. All these things, their friendship is kind of complicated, but you know, they hang out here and there. They kind of lose touch, and then he ends up getting to another relationship with the girl, and he's really feeling her, really liking her. But then as time goes on, they don't seem to be as compatible as when they first met. So you know, when you start dating someone, you get to know them more. You kind of realize maybe we don't have as much in common as we originally thought. But no, Marcus doesn't end it. He keeps going. They end up moving in together and all this stuff. I'm like, dude. So he's in this relationship with this girl, right? And the romantic part of the relationship is not going as well as they thought it would. He couldn't really perform for her, and he didn't know why. And she was like, no, it's like they're trying all these things, and she's like, no, you know, being like, you know, it happens, but it keeps happening a lot. She doesn't know, but she's like, he's a good guy, you know, all this stuff. But then eventually she's like showering and all this stuff, and then she sees that he is performing in the shower, but he just can't perform with her. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. And she kind of ends up the relationship right then and there. She was like, because basically she's like, who are you thinking about when you're in the shower? But you're not, you can't do that with me, all this stuff. And this is the reason I don't love Marcus, because of his marriage and this other relationship, he wasn't happy. And I feel like there were signs of these relationships not going down the right paths, but instead of ending it, he just keeps going with it. And maybe he thinks he's okay, but he is hurting these other women that's in the relationship with him, because they end up finding out things that he's not really attracted or into them anymore, and in terrible ways. And then they end a relationship and they get heartbroken. And this is literally, that's the reason why I didn't love Marcus as a character. I was just like, dude, just don't be like, end the relationship, break up with them. You're just hurting their feelings and all this stuff. Eventually, Marcus and Mia find their way back to each other. Start out as friends, and then they're kind of both single and decide to try it out, their relationship. And it's going good. They're both enjoying themselves. They do have a rough patch, but then they end up coming back together, and they realize that they are the person that they need to be with for each other. So yeah, overall, him and Mia ended together. I did like him and Mia. I thought they were really cute. I didn't really love the choices Marcus made. I didn't even love all the choices Mia made. But they were very similar, two peas in a pod. Overall, for this show, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. When I first read it, I knew it was a romance TV show, and I was like, I'm the romance girly. I love romance, so I'm gonna really enjoy this show. But maybe because it wasn't your typical rom-com or romance movie that I'm used to, I didn't love it. Like, I did like how it was a little different, and it looked like different love lives with different loves people went throughout their lives. It just wasn't, for me, it just wasn't my favorite. It did keep my interest at times, but overall I thought like the show was okay, and I think it was pretty average. So for me, this is like 2.5 or a 3. It's like in between there. It's, for me, it's not full 3. If it was a 3, it's like a lower end of a 3. So I didn't not like it, but I didn't like it. So whatever that rating is, like a 2.75 maybe. Maybe I'll give it a 3, but a low 3. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a 3. It's not gonna be like a high 3. It's gonna be on the lower end of the 3-star spectrum, but I'll give it a 3 for this show. I did appreciate that it was a more realistic look at a love story, but I just didn't love the show overall. If you haven't seen it, you can definitely go check out both seasons on HBO Max. I'm not sure if the third one is coming, but so far as 2 seasons, and you can go see it on HBO Max. And if you guys are interested in more TV content, definitely go check out my website below. I will link that below. I will also link all my social media. You guys can go check me out on Twitter, Pinterest. I also created an Instagram as well if you guys want to go check that out. But I hope you guys enjoy this, and definitely let me know what you think about Love Life. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, or if you preferred one season over the other. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, week, and hopefully a good rest of your year. And until next time, bye.